And the U.S. over the weekend announced more than 500 new sanctions against Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, as well as the death of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Now, how effective will they be this time? We turn to Professor Kim Hyun-wook this morning. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. This latest package brings the number of entities sanctioned to over 4,000. The question is, will the first round of sanctions be a blow to Russia in realistic ways?
Well, I think we have to see how the effects of sanctions would be, because the last time when sanctions were raised, it was not that effective. In the initial phase, the export of Russia pretty much decreased, and the supplies of commodities and services pretty much decreased. But after that, Russian economy pretty much recovered. Maybe one of the reasons is that countries like the United States and Western European countries, they were very much hesitant because sanctioning Russia might be expanded into the global and regional economy, and also sanctioning the export of Russian oil to other countries might make the entire oil prices go up, which I think would also have a negative impact on the oil price management in the United States. So I think all these factors, I think if applied the same way, I don't think it will be that effective as U.S. and Western countries expect.
Right, and when it looked like Ukraine was losing international support, G7 members once again vowed to back Ukraine for as long as it takes. Where is this support from G7 coming from? Because the war has now entered its third year. Is that why?
There was G7 summit meeting, and at the summit statement, they all agreed that they will continue their support for the Ukraine in dealing with Russia in warfare. The British Prime Minister promised that it will provide $311 million, defense packages. And also Netherlands promised that it will have a security pact with Ukraine for 10 years. But the problem is that the public opinion in Europe is pretty much devastating. European people are pretty much sick of Ukraine war. Their support rate is getting lower. And also the support for the President Biden about the war in Ukraine pretty much decreased for about 7% compared to the 47% of last August. So I think the public opinion is getting more and more negative about the war in Ukraine. I think that's some sort of the dilemma that G7 countries are facing in the near future.
Right, and I would also like to know how some analysts also point out the West and the global South are not on the same page when it comes to dealing with Russia, and that's why sanctions on Moscow end up useless. What's your take on this, Professor Kim?
Yes, because of the sanctions, many European countries decided not to import the oil from Russia. But what happened is that some countries like China, India, and Brazil, they imported oil from Russia in a discounted price, much cheaper price. And also China began expanding its trade with Russia in all the commodities, even some everyday commodities and also finance services, expanding its trade with Russia. So all these kind of things are making Russia to be capable of its escaping the sanctions by international community. And another reason is that President Joe Biden was very hesitant in sanctioning Russia very much because it has a general election in November this year, and restraining the Russian oil export would definitely make international oil price go up, which also will have very bad impact on the people of the United States about the oil prices.
Definitely, definitely. Now, the U.S., it wasn't just the U.S. The EU also unveiled its 13th raft of sanctions on Friday, targeting people accused of helping Russia procure weapons, now including North Korea's defense minister. Will that help stop apparent arms shows between Pyongyang and Moscow then?
Well, I don't think so. Yeah, you mentioned that European Union's 13 round of sanctions on Russia. The targets of those sanctions include the North Korean defense minister and the head of missile agency of North Korea. The reason why the European Union's included North Korean agencies and ministers is because they think that the North Korea provision of ammunition to Russia was something very negatively had an negative effect on the process of war in Ukraine, and also they found out that the ballistic missiles that Russia is using is something that has been manufactured by Russia. So that's the reasons why they put North Korea into the sanction list. But North Korea thinks that this is a very important opportunity for North Korea. I mean, beginning its cooperations with Russia and possibly expanding into China. I think this is a very important opportunity for North Korea to expand its national interests. Even though there are sanctions, I think the gains that North Korea obtained from Russia is much bigger than the losses that it gets from the sanctions on North Korea.
Right, briefly before I let you go, that's why concerns are growing that deepening weapons collaboration between the North and Russia can pose a threat here on the Korean Peninsula. How can Seoul or its security allies stop that from happening other than by, slapping sanctions then?
Well, I think now, of course, China is a little bit hesitant in joining Russia and North Korea. But I think North Korea and Russia is very much eager to form a trilateral cooperation vis-a-vis the U.S. Because that's something that can gang up to deal with Western countries and the U.S. sanctions on Russia and China and North Korea altogether. So for now, I think we have to be ready for all these kinds of things. We have to bolster the relationship with the U.S. and trilateral cooperation with Japan altogether, kind of expanding and increasing the deterrence capabilities. Because now, also along with that, the U.S. needs to strengthen its pressure on China, because China is kind of center state amongst the Russia and North Korea and China. And maybe sanctioning and pressuring China, that will weaken the trilateral cooperations, and that will also weaken, North Korea's hardline policies towards South Korea and the Korean Peninsula.
All right, Professor Kim Hyun-wook, thank you so much for your insights this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.